What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pop Culture Gamers podcast here on YouTube. And today I've got another exciting thing for you. I have a Commodore 64 Mini. So we're going to have a look at this this system. Don't forget, before we start, if you do like this video and you want to subscribe, please do. It would only be a mini thing for you to do, but it would be amazing. Okay, let's get on with the show. So we've got the Commodore 64 Mini. This plugs directly into your TV via HDMI input. I've seen these for ages. I picked this up for about £34. It wasn't very much at all. As you can see, it's got 64 games included on it, and it even has a replica of the old Kingston Pro joystick, which I used to have. If we have a look at the back, we can see we've got Boulder Dash, which a lot of people used to like. It wasn't my sort of thing, but nevertheless. California Games, didn't mind those. Impossible Mission, used to quite like those. Jumpman, yeah, okay. Paradroid. Now, I used to absolutely love Paradroid when I was a kid. I used to play that for hours and hours and hours, and some really interesting stories about how that was made. Pit Stop 2, another one for a two-player game, which if you plug in a USB joystick, you can play two players. Speedball 2, the Bitmap Brothers, classic gaming from the Commodore era. Street Sports Baseball, never really played that one. Summer Games 2, played that when I was younger. Temple of Asphalt trilogy, again, never really played. Winter Games, used to play that quite a lot, used to quite enjoy that one. Uridium, now that was one of my favourite shooters back on the Commodore 64. Brilliant game. I really wish they would make a modern version of that. It would be so good. And the great thing is, you can also program in BASIC. You will need to plug in a keyboard or use the on-screen keyboard to be able to do this, but nevertheless, that is still Commodore BASIC, and that really does take me back. Okay, so let's have a quick look. By the way, the output for this is 720p. There is also a save game function, and you can also use two USB ports to sideload games onto the system as well. So let's get this open and see what we've got inside. Here we are, Commodore 64 Mini with the old Commodore Rainbow that we used to get as well on the machines. Let's have a look inside, and there we are. There is the Commodore 64 Mini. Such a tiny little machine, but let's take this out. Put that box to one side. And here it is. Here is the machine itself. So the Commodore 64 Mini, it doesn't have a working keyboard, that these don't operate at all. I have seen on Retro Recipes, which is a great channel if you've never seen that before, with Paradroid. If you've seen him, you will have seen he does a lot of things with retro games, particularly the Commodore 64 and Amiga sort of era, which we have a shared love of. But he does create a Commodore 64 Mini with a working keyboard. There is actually a version of this with a working keyboard. It's the Maxi, but I believe that they were looking at trying to create an aftermarket keyboard to go into this machine. I've not seen it advertised, but that's certainly what Paradroid was talking about. Okay, so it's a pretty basic machine in terms of ports and everything. We've got the keyboard effect. It doesn't have the letters on the sides, which is a bit of a shame, but nevertheless it still looks absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it's a micro USB power in rather than USB-C, which is a standard these days. You've got two USB ports in the side here. One is to plug in your joystick, the other one either another joystick off for side loading games, and then you've got your on-off switch there. This side there's nothing on, and then underneath it's just a couple of air vents with Commodore 64 or C64 Mini, because I can't use the Commodore terminology, just embossed in there. Other than that, in the box, let's take this one out, we have our obligatory sort of leads that we would use. So there is a HDMI lead which we will need to connect. There is our joystick, which is a remodel of the Kempston Pro. There is a couple of things in here, one leaflet and whatever, but there is also a USB lead as well, and that USB lead is not in the box because I've already opened this up, because I did try and record it before and unfortunately forgot to press record. I pressed take a photo instead. So what you've got here is your user guide, your quick start manual. It's in multiple languages, but there's nothing much to it. Basically, it's plug it in, plug the joystick in, switch it on. It tells you what all of these buttons do on the joystick as well. And then, I'm not sure who this is really aimed at, but this is Retro Reborn, the world's first retro game subscription service. Not really sure myself, to be fair, why you would want to subscribe to play old retro games when, you know, you can legitimately get hold of the ROMs relatively easily. So, but it is there. There is a promo code if you wanted to subscribe yourself to that sort of service. Other than that, the main attraction, of course, is this. This is the Kempston Pro joystick, Competition Pro joystick. Now, I had a number of joysticks back in the day on the Commodore 64. This was one of them. This one doesn't feel like my original from what I remember. I seem to remember that it was very clicky, micro switchy. This definitely not that. It does actually feel of a cheaper plastic as well. To be fair, this feels really solid. It's quite heavy. It's quite nice. This is somewhat lighter, and well, I'm just not much of a fan of it. There are more buttons than the original Kempston had. There are these two buttons here. There's a menu button, and then there's another couple there. It is USB compatible, so it will work with your PC as well, I believe. Some people have said there is more embossed text on the bottom of this here. It doesn't really say much other than it's made in China, and it's for the C64 Mini. You've obviously got the logo on there as well, and oh, suits you, sir. Couple of peels. Very nice. Okay, so that's the Commodore 64 Mini. Hope you've really enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.